Hi everybody. Okay, we're going to talk long-term food storage, a little bit at Costco because that's where I am today. It's in the middle of a winter-spring snowstorm here, and the price of food is going up tremendously. So I'm in front of Costco's frozen chicken breasts. If you go over and buy the ones that are individual pouch, they're $5.99 a pound. This one is $2.84. Now $2.84 is still a lot higher than it's been, but it's actually cheaper than it's been in a long time. You used to be able to get chicken for like $1.99, $1.79. $2.84 is about the cheapest I've seen it here in New Jersey. One of the things about this bag of chicken is it has 6 pounds in it. So in a family of 4 or 5, you can get 3 or 4 meals out of it. They're nice and big. They're not tiny and squished like a lot of the other things are. So I would start, if you have freezer room or buy a cheaper deep freeze, get your chicken, your basic meats in your freezer. We should be able to keep power in event an emergency. And here in New Jersey, I have a generator. So the goal is that you would then cook as much as you could or keep it frozen as long as you could if you couldn't get to the store. Okay, let's talk long-term food storage with nuts and protein. A lot of you guys don't want to buy nuts, or you say, I don't like them, or they're fatty, or they're gonna make me chubby. But I guarantee if you're needing calories and you're needing fat, find the nut that your family can eat and make sure you have your supply in there, whether it's a trail mix blend or cashews or almonds. You can always grind them. You can always put them in a grinder. You can always cook with them. You can always doctor them up if you need to for little kids. But it's super important that you have some nuts in your food storage. Watch the shelf life of them if you can. Keep them in your fridge. Almonds, cashews. Cashews have higher oil value, so they go bad faster. Almonds are one of your best nuts to store, and peanuts are really high in oil as well. But these are the things that you need to have in long-term storage, especially if there is a food crisis. Okay, let's talk medicine and vitamins. So if you can buy a vitamin that is a tablet, they're made with pressure, they push all the water out of them. The shelf life is really, really good. Even if it's expired in a year and a half, it's probably 98% potent instead of 100, which means everybody wants a gummy and it'll taste good and whatever, but those are not gonna hold their nutritional value. So if we're talking long-term usage, you need to have a hardcore tablet. Buy a multivitamin make sure you've got multivitamins in your long-term storage. You should have a year supply per family member who takes them. Now, you may want to also have something fluffy for your little kids, because if you're really truly running low on nutrients, you're going to want to supplement. Okay, we're going to talk protein in a can now. Oh, my cart's in the way. Long-term storage. Okay, this is chunk chicken breast at Costco. It is $2.98 a pound. Did you know it's actually cheaper than the individually packaged chicken breasts in the back at $5.99 a pound? They're fresh. This will stay on your shelf, and it is shelf stable for, I can't read the date, 25. We're talking 3 years. So every time you go to Costco or Sam's or somewhere, this is what I pick up. The reason is because you can eat it in everything. You can make chicken enchiladas in it. But if there is a food shortage, and if like the packing houses go down, you have long-term storage food. So just pick one up every week, because it's $14 and you get 6 cans. And it's about $3 something a can, but, well, it's $2.89. But the other thing is, a can of it will feed you a dinner. So if you were saving it for one night, you've got 6 meals in an emergency. Plus, learn how to cook it the other ways. We use it with chicken salad. I make chicken enchiladas with it. There's a lot, you can put it in soup. There's lots of ways to make it stretch, because it is pricey. But if we're talking long-term food storage, you're gonna have to have things that sit on your shelf that you can open with a can. Okay, we're gonna talk about rice and pasta. If we're in a major food shortage, you need to have rice in your food, in your staples. You need to keep it in a bucket, keep the bag sealed, keep it cool and dry as much as you can. But rice is a very good food staple. It's all been supplemented with, it's all fortified now, so it has nutritional value. Keep some things around you can add to your rice and your pasta, because if you need calories, you need rice. Another thing you need is pasta. Pasta you can get freeze-dried, you can get dried, and you watch how much you use. Grab your Sharpie and say, am I using 2 boxes a month or 3, and multiply it by 12, and then you have your supply of pasta. Sauce is harder. Sauce is much more expensive now. Tomatoes have gone way up in price, and sauce is super expensive. The cool thing is the pull date on like a jar of ragu is a year and a half from now. It's February of 24, which means you've got some really good food storage capabilities with pasta sauce. So even if you're trying to be super healthy now, you can always mix it with fresh fruits, or excuse me, fresh vegetables, add your tomatoes, add fresh things to it. But you've got to have your pasta sauce to go with your pasta if we're talking long-term food storage. Okay, let's talk vinegar. I don't like pickled things and I really hate vinegar, but if you do not have vinegar in your food storage, then you're gonna have major stuff lacking. A gallon of white vinegar you can use for all sorts of things. You can sanitize with it, you can clean with it, you can pickle foods with it so that they don't go bad faster. But vinegar is something you've got to have in your long-term storage, and it's super cheap. It's $3 a gallon. Just stick it in your basement and make sure you have vinegar in your food storage. Okay, I'm in the aisle where there are fats, and your diet's gonna need fats, especially if you're on survival food or if you're just teaching your family to eat simpler food. So in this aisle, you're gonna have things like canola oil and vegetable oil and olive oil. For some reason, olive oil shelf life is longer. It's much more expensive, but you use a lot less in cooking. So if you're going to have in your food storage, you need to have canola oil for just cheaper cooking, and you need to have olive oil for higher end cooking, and it stores a little bit longer. Check your dates, keep it as cool and dark as you can, but you've got to have fats in your diet. Another thing you can keep that has a fairly good shelf life is mayonnaise. And it's got a shelf life of like 6 months to a year. So gauge it based on, isn't it so funny? I'm in the East Coast now, it's Hellman's, and in Arizona, it's Best Foods. So gauge and watch your pull dates on it to make sure you know how much you're using, kind of gauge it. That's why I talked to you last week about a Sharpie, so that as you start to use your regular food now, you'll know what you're going through and how much you need. Okay, let's talk sugar. You can start with 5 or 10 pounds. There's 2 different kinds. You need to look in the label and make sure you know what you use it for. Regular sugar at the store or generic is typically beet sugar. Beet sugar does not do as well in things like jellies and jams if you make strawberry like freezer jam like I do, so you have to make sure it's cane sugar, because the pectin in the boxes goes with cane sugar. The chemistry works really well. So I keep cane sugar and cheap beet sugar around as well. It's typically the one that goes on sale for $1 or a couple dollars at the grocery store. It's always cheaper because it's beet sugar, and beet sugar is made from sugar beets. Cane sugar is finer, and it makes candy and your higher quality baked goods better, but you can use a lot of beet sugar in a food storage and accumulate it cheaper, and it's just as good. It doesn't go bad as long as it doesn't get wet or bugs. So just watch for it. Okay, let's talk flour. The price of wheat is higher than it's ever been in history as of this week because of March of 22's war in Ukraine. Ukraine is the breadbasket of Russia. So China also is in the middle of a drought. So if you have room right now, you need to put flour in your food storage. It needs to be in a cool, dark place. You need to make sure it's sealed and that you have pest control so you don't get weevil. It's a lot easier to get weevil in Arizona than it is here. If you get to where you use enough flour for just regular things, you need to make sure it's in like a 5-gallon Magna Seal bucket. I do not have one here to show you, and this Costco does not have food storage items. So you can order them from walmart.com, those kind of things. You want to get a mag seal. It's a screw vacuum seal essentially, and you're going to put flour in it once you've opened the bag. Otherwise, before that, it's sealed. Okay, I'm in like the cereal and oat aisle. We just talked about honey. One of the things you can do is you can have a little bit of jam in your storage so that if somebody gets tired of other things. Another thing is a nut butter, like a peanut butter. They do go bad because of oil in them, but it's really good, dense protein, and so it's always good to have some. It all has a shelf life of at least a year, but just keep it as dark and cool as you can, whether it's in a basement or a dark cabinet. Another thing I keep in my food storage are oats. And if you buy quick oats, fine. If you buy regular oats, fine. But oats have a lot of fiber, they have iron, and so if you are talking long-term storage, teach your kids how to eat oats. You know, put them in your cookies, make them eat instant oatmeal every week. Those kind of things so that they can get used to the texture and the flavor, and that way if you had to modify their diet a little bit, you can add regular, quick cook oats because they have more fiber. Okay, let's talk sweetener. Did you know that they pulled honey out of the Egyptian tombs and it was still good? Honey does not go bad. It might crystallize, it might get hard, and you might have to microwave it or warm it up. But you need to have some honey in your food storage because you can use it for sweetening, and you've got it and it does not go bad. Do not store it in your garage in Arizona. You can store it in other places. Honey is done, in a perfect world, you're gonna buy honey local to you because it has specific antibodies based on the plants and the bees in your area. But sometimes you can't. Honey has like doubled and tripled in price lately. This is probably a half a gallon for $14, but you use so little of it because it's so concentrated. So put some honey in your food storage. Okay, let's talk luxury item in your food storage, Nesquik powder. It's good for 2 years and no one will want powdered milk, but if your kids are hungry and thirsty, they will drink chocolate powdered milk and put it in their milk. So this is something good to have in your food storage. Okay, let's talk long-term water problems in our area. So Costco has cases of water for $3.39 for 36 bottles. It's 16 cents a bottle. In a perfect world, you have 2 cases in your garage for every family member at home right now. It only lasts you a week, but you have clean water for a week. Apparently, according to like hardcore data, you need 5 to 7 bottles a day. Okay, let's talk cheap protein here. A lot of people don't think they want cholesterol and they don't want to eat the middle of the egg. But we're going to talk about eggs by the bulk here. So 5 dozen eggs will last you at least 60 to 90 days in a refrigerator, and it comes out to be 13 cents an egg. That is the cheapest and one of the more dense proteins you can eat for long-term storage. Many communities allow you to have chickens. I don't have chickens. Many of my neighbors in Arizona have chickens, and a lot of my neighbors here in New Jersey do, if they can keep them away from the hawks and eagles. So, eggs. Think eggs for, I've got to last 90 days. I can put in 5 dozen eggs in my fridge in my garage. Okay, let's talk vegetables. A lot of people have been asking me from the last YouTube video, but I want to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, and I said I do too. But this is one of the best buys in the country. It is $8.99 for 5.5 pounds, and this is vegetables. They're flash frozen. They're really pretty good for you. You can broil them in the oven. You can saute them in a wok. You can microwave them. You can add butter and salt and whatever else you want to them. But the biggest thing is you're going to need fiber and protein long-term storage. Start with this, unless you can go to freeze-dried. We're just talking working on at Costco. Okay, let's talk toilet paper. Costco has done extensive research on their toilet paper. Scott tissue is cheap and thin, and you'll use twice as much. Costco's toilet paper is $17.99 for 30 packages. It's not as linty as Charmin. Charmin is so linty, it's all over your house, and it's thicker. Costco toilet paper is the best bang for your buck. You need 1 package for every month that your family goes through. So you need to figure out how many rolls of toilet paper you use in a month, and that's how many you should keep around. You need 6 months worth in your house. So I'm down to 1.5 big packages. So that means I buy a pack of toilet paper because I'm just starting my stock here in New Jersey. And I don't want to get stuck in a toilet paper problem again. And then when the toilet paper happens, you don't worry. Okay, here's another really great Costco item. These chicken bites are almost identical to Chick-fil-A, and they are $20 for 4 pounds. It's $4.99 a pound. And I guarantee you there are a lot more at Chick-fil-A. So if you're cutting your budget, buy them here and use these, and buy some good sauce or make your own sauce at home using a recipe. Okay, let's talk cleaning. You're doing laundry, and right now you just throw one of the pods in the wash because it's easy and it's quick. The biggest problem with those pods is they will disintegrate. They're not okay for your long-term storage. Your long-term storage of laundry soap needs to be powder, not liquid, powder. The other thing that we remember when COVID first started and everybody freaked out about is bleach. Bleach sits on the floor of your garage for a long, long time. Just let it sit there. Don't keep it by anything important. Don't keep it by food, but it is really important that you have bleach. You can do a lot with it. You can purify water. Say I'm in Arizona and all of a sudden there's no more fresh water and I've got to use my swimming pool. You can actually boil water. You can add like a half a teaspoon of that bleach, and you're good to go with fresh drinking water and clean drinking water when there's no microbes in it. So it's important that you keep bleach around your house as well.